The days of peace in the small hut were short-lived. Strangers began arriving in the village of Moyo, men in fine clothes with cold eyes and heavy bags of coins. They spoke to the village chief and demanded to see the blind girl who could heal with her touch. The villagers, though protective of Zuri, could not hold back the tide of curiosity and greed that followed these men. Baba Kofi, now sober and protective, stood at the entrance of their hut when the strangers finally arrived. "We have heard of your daughter's gift," one of the men said, his voice smooth like oil on water. "We can offer you wealth, comfort, and a life beyond this village if you let us take her with us." Baba Kofi's hands clenched into fists, his voice firm as he replied, "My daughter is not for sale." The men exchanged glances, their smiles thin and dangerous. "You will regret this decision," one of them said before turning away. That night, Baba Kofi stayed awake, his eyes fixed on the doorway, knowing deep in his heart that danger was near. Days later, under the cover of darkness, the men returned, this time with torches and weapons. They stormed the hut, breaking down the weak wooden door. Mama Nia screamed as rough hands grabbed Zuri, pulling her from her mother's grasp. Baba Kofi fought with everything he had, but he was outnumbered and beaten to the ground. "Mama! Papa!" Zuri screamed, her voice breaking through the chaos. But her cries were swallowed by the night as she was carried away into the shadows. The village woke to the sound of Mama Nia's wails and Baba Kofi's broken sobs. The people gathered around the shattered hut, their faces filled with sorrow and guilt. Baba Kofi, his face bruised and bloodied, stood up slowly. "They took my daughter," he said, his voice shaking. "But I will not stop until I bring her back." The villagers, moved by his determination, offered what little they could: food, water, and words of encouragement. With Mama Nia by his side, Baba Kofi set out on a journey to find their daughter, carrying with him the hope of a broken family and the prayers of an entire village. Meanwhile, Zuri sat in a cold, dark room, her tiny hands tied with rough ropes. The men who had taken her spoke in hushed tones outside the door, their voices dripping with greed. "Do you think she'll obey us?" one asked. "She will if she knows what's good for her," another replied. But even in the darkness, Zuri felt something warm and steady in her chest. She closed her eyes and whispered, "God, you are with me. I am not alone." Far away in the depths of the night, Baba Kofi and Mama Nia trudged through forests and crossed rivers, driven by a love stronger than fear. Their journey was fraught with dangers. Wild animals, treacherous paths, and hunger gnawed at their strength. But every time they felt like giving up, Baba Kofi would remember Zuri's soft voice, her gentle touch, and the light she carried within her. "We will find her," he would say firmly, and Mama Nia would nod, tears glistening in her eyes. Back in captivity, Zuri was brought before a wealthy lord who sat on a golden throne. "Heal me," he commanded, his voice sharp. Zuri stood still, her blind eyes staring ahead. "I cannot heal without God's will," she said softly. The lord's face twisted with anger, and he slammed his fist on the armrest. "You will heal me, child, or you will suffer." But Zuri stood firm, her heart unshaken. As days turned into weeks, Baba Kofi and Mama Nia's journey brought them closer to the Lord's estate. Along the way, they met kind strangers who offered them shelter, food, and hope. The story of the little blind girl had traveled far, and people recognized Baba Kofi and Mama Nia as the parents of the child who had touched so many lives. Their love and determination inspired others, and soon they were no longer traveling alone. One night, Zuri was left alone in her cell, her frail body shivering from hunger and exhaustion. Yet she began to hum softly, the same song she used to hum on the nights her father's rage filled their tiny hut. As the melody filled the cold stone walls, a guard who had been watching her fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Forgive me, child," he whispered. He unlocked the door and helped Zuri to her feet. "Run, little one. Run to freedom." As dawn broke, Baba Kofi and Mama Nia spotted the grand estate on the horizon. Their hearts raced, knowing their daughter was near. But at that same moment, Zuri stumbled through a hidden path in the estate gardens, guided only by the warmth in her chest and the faint glow of the rising sun. And then, as if drawn together by fate, Baba Kofi saw a small figure in the distance. "Zuri," he cried out. The little girl stopped, her face turning towards the sound of her father's voice. "Papa," she called back, her tiny arms reaching forward. Baba Kofi and Mama Nia ran to her, embracing her tightly, their tears soaking into her hair. At that moment, the sun broke fully over the horizon, casting golden light over the reunited family. But their journey was not over. The Lord and his men would not rest until they reclaimed what they believed was theirs. Baba Kofi knew they had to return to Moyo, to the village where Zuri's gift was not a curse but a blessing. Together, the family began their long journey home, their spirits unbroken, their love unyielding, and Zuri's light shining brighter than ever. Let me know if you'd like me to continue from here, or if you have any specific direction in mind. As Baba Kofi, Mama Nia, and Zuri journeyed back to Moyo, they remained vigilant, aware that the Lord's men might pursue them. Their path led them through dense forests and across vast plains, each step bringing them closer to home. One evening, as they set up camp by a gently flowing river, Zuri sensed a presence nearby. "Papa, someone is watching us," she whispered. Baba Kofi stood, scanning the surrounding trees. "Show yourself," he called out, his voice echoing through the twilight. A figure emerged from the shadows, a young man with kind eyes and a cautious demeanor. "I mean you no harm," he said, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "My name is Kwame. I was once a servant in the Lord's estate. I heard of your escape and wished to help you." Mama Nia looked at him skeptically. "Why should we trust you?" Kwame lowered his gaze. "I have seen the Lord's cruelty. I could not stand by while he sought to exploit the child's gift. Please let me guide you through safer paths." After a moment's deliberation, Baba Kofi nodded. "Very well. But know this. If you betray us, there will be consequences." Kwame led them through hidden trails, avoiding villages where the Lord's influence was strong. Along the way, he shared stories of others who had suffered under the Lord's tyranny, further strengthening their resolve to return home and protect Zuri's gift. One night, as they rested beneath a canopy of stars, Zuri spoke softly. "Mama, will the bad men come for me again?" Mama Nia held her daughter close. "We will do everything in our power to keep you safe, my child. Your gift is meant to heal, not to be exploited." As they drew nearer to Moyo, the landscape became more familiar. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the distant sounds of village life reached their ears. But upon their arrival, they found the village in disarray. The Lord's men had been there, searching for Zuri, leaving fear and uncertainty in their wake. The village chief approached them, his expression grave. Baba Kofi, Mama Nia,